So this is the after show for the American Pie. I'm your host, or just the person that's talking right now, Chris Michaels. I'm here with Kevin Wood and Paul Mahos, and we're talking about things that normal people couldn't possibly comprehend. We are very spiritual people when it comes down to it. So we were talking about singularity, and singularity is essentially the blending of human and machine, the transhumanist movement. And it's a very interesting topic because it's very relevant because we have COVID that's out there. Bill Gates, the patent for his vaccine allows nanobots, so robots that are carbon-based, and they're so tiny that they can infiltrate your cells. The cell walls aren't even enough protection to keep these robots out of your system. That manipulates your RNA, so the receptors of DNA. So they allow your DNA to be manipulated as they're injected into your system. And they even say that this COVID vaccine that Bill Gates is allowing to be perpetrated upon humanity, it may not even be the one that is going to cure everything. So every year we need to go for our antiviral updates. Now, another part of this patent that Bill Gates has is that it comes with a bio-tattoo. So when he injects you with that vaccine and those nanobots go into your system, there's an infrared bio-tattoo that is placed subdermally, but just beneath your skin. And somebody, like a contact tracer or Gestapo agent, can take their cell phone, wave it over the bio-tattoo, and determine which vaccines you have and which vaccines you don't. And if you don't have enough vaccines or you're not up to date, well, guess what? Thanks to the cashless society, your accounts will be frozen and you will be quarantined and not be allowed to travel across the country. Now, you may ask yourself, what kind of network is required to track 350 million people and all of their medical records in real time across the country? And that network is 5G, which is why 5G is considered an essential service, those installations happening across the country. And I do believe that this vaccine, if it is allowed to be unfurled across the country, I do believe that we are going to be one step closer to, quote-unquote, the Matrix and singularity.
Wow, what a great pretense, Mr. Chris Michaels.
Yeah, no, well, it's great, and it's exactly what we're facing, what we're actually really looking at, and it's frightening. It's actually Mark of the Beast type of stuff. I mean that we're seeing unfold. And did you ever think that you would see this in your lifetime? So I've been following UN Agenda 2030, and I've been following that for years. I'm admittedly a conspiracy theorist.
No. You're a critical thinker.
Well,
Ooh, I like
thank
that.
you. Yes, and thank you. I like looking at different things, and I get sources from everywhere, and it makes you think about these things. So the UN Agenda 2030, Sustainable Development, where it sounds peachy keen, it sounds great. The problem with it is it puts the power into the hands of very few. And the problem with that is whatever they giveth, they can taketh away. They want to control the food population, the food. They want to control the health care system. The UN wants to have its own army that's going to control all the nuclear arms. You see where that's going? I mean, this is like Dr. Evil type of shit, where they're going to control everything. And to call it sustainable development, I mean, it's such a great marketing campaign, and they've got Hollywood behind it. It's really well done, and they're not hiding this at all.
No.
But what they're not telling you is we, as a nation, lose our sovereignty. And I didn't understand until really recently how important our sovereignty is, and the sovereignty of all nations for that reason, because we are supposed to be self-governing. And we're witnessing the complete opposite. People are begging to have their rights taken away for security, for their security, for their peace. And
there was a meme that went around starting yesterday. You're going to love this. When we were kids, you picked up the phone. The meme showed a mom picking up the phone and said, "Be careful what you say on the phone." And then today it's you're talking to that same thing asking for a recipe for pancakes. So that same spy you're willingly talking to.
Yes. Yes.
And we were completely the opposite in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I actually started a little Facebook page called Feed the Machine. And essentially what that is I look at what we are right now are little data entry bots. We are feeding into the matrix everything it means to be a human being. I mean everything.
Facebook is the very definition of that.
So anything you say can and will be used against you.
It is.
And when the machine becomes self-aware, conscious, which I think we're at that point right now. I really do. Then no one's talking about that, but I think we are at that point. The machine may decide that we are not worthy of life because we just look at our rhetoric online. Look at the divisiveness. We're a warring people, you know, and this has been going on for a long time. And if you're that machine and you become self-aware,
we become tribal.
That we become a lot of trouble. And at what point does it say? So I believe feed the machine positive things. Give it nutrition. Give it positivity. Give it light. Give it love. So my thing is, what's the diet? What are you feeding this thing? And if it's vitriol and hate, then that's what it's gonna spit back out, and see us as. So we have a responsibility here, and I think it's when I tell
this
you,
is like almost Star Trek stuff, like the giant mirror.
Oh boy, yeah,
right.
It is, and it's funny because you look at Gene Roddenberry, the creator of that. Do you know he was part of MK Ultra?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's fascinating. He sat in on meetings when they discontinued.
Now wait, before you go on, what do you think? Well, not what do you think. What can you tell? I know what MK Ultra is, but there are probably people out there that don't. What is MK Ultra?
So MK Ultra was the mind control experiments, which had everything to do with astral projection, telekinesis. ESP, you name it. And the government experimented on this for a long time using psychedelics, electroshock therapy, deprivation, all kinds of these things to figure out how they could control human beings. Programming. Right.
So what really... another aspect of this is that they imported all the Nazis from World War II.
That's right.
And that's where MK Ultra came from.
Correct.
And then once people started to unfurl or realize what MK Ultra was all about, they had a whole bunch of congressional investigations on it, and the CIA decided to burn all the documents. And oh my gosh, we don't have anything anymore. And a lot of those doctors actually came out here to Long Island.
Yes.
And that's where you get the Montauk Project from.
That's right.
And if you drive out there, you see the road Ditch Plains. And that Ditch Plains community is where they housed all the Nazis from World War II. Now, the government was smart because the military did not run Camp Hero. They hired contractors to run Camp Hero. So you do not have an official military record of any military personnel working at Camp Hero.
Right.
It's a private security company, and corporations have different rights compared to the government. So you can't request information like a freedom
FOIL.
Right. There's no Freedom of Information Act request that you can do because you don't know the corporation that was hired to guard that base.
Right.
And so the first season of Stranger Things is actually based upon the Montauk Project.
That's absolutely right.
With Preston Nichols.
Brilliant.
And I'll give you another little bit of information. So we're talking essentially about our own reality here, and we're talking about metaphysics. Because, like you said, I'm sorry, saying you and pointing doesn't really work on the radio. As Paul said, I'm going to point at you.
We are being filmed. You might not have known that
really?
as you walked away to pee.
No, I didn't pee.
During our show.
No, I didn't pee.
Oh, you got a White Claw.
Yeah, I got a White Claw.
You liberal bitch.
So it's almost like nodding on the radio. Like,
yeah,
as you're saying something. Oh, I agree with you. Yeah. So we're talking about metaphysics. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Have you? Oh, you were, because you're saying
Yes.
you have to feed the machine
Yes.
positive intent to
Yes.
get positive intent back.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize that every person here, even though we're interacting, we all have our own reality tunnels. So we all agree to interact with one another, but at the end of the day, I can't feel the feelings that Kevin feels or you feel
Right.
or anything else. What am I emitting, and what do I get in return? And so we're all in a matrix right now.
Well, so our existence is actually evidence and proof of parallel universes. It's
Correct.
Our own existence is absolute evidence and proof of that parallel universes exist, because we're sitting in the same room. My experience here and your experience and Kevin's experience are completely different. We share the same space and time, but our experience is completely, utterly unique. And I
Correct.
think that's mind-blowing. And that is metaphysics.
is.
And going back to the MK Ultra, which was Project Paperclip, which is what they used to bring the Nazis over,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Werner von Braun.
Who, by the way, wasn't not Werner von Braun, Ava Braun.
Ava Braun.
She was.
Oh, you know what? That was.
Who was
I
she
never put
pictured
that
with?
together. She was with Adolf Hitler.
No. I know that, but she was pictured with somebody else. I think there's a photograph of her and Barack Obama,
Really?
or Barack Obama's mother.
Oh.
Well, yeah, the time frame would have to line up there.
I think so. I'm not certain about it. But
So MK Ultra. What I was going to say about that, when it went, they continued the experiments. They continued these things, and Gene Roddenberry is known to have been there. It's really interesting stuff. But one of the things that happened when they started doing these experiments is they started communicating with interdimensional beings. And that's how Gene Roddenberry came up with Star Trek. That we were in contact. Now I know it all sounds crazy, and again, I always get accused as being the conspiracy theorist, and I happily take on that role as a critical thinker.
Thank you.
Because I do appreciate that. Because a lot of times people will look at you as though you're crazy, but again, if you look at everything that's going on, shit just does not add up. And what makes sense, you know? So we're all trying to put this puzzle together, and all the pieces are out there, but there's unless we start communicating like this, there's no way that we're gonna put that puzzle together. So what I think goes on with religions, you know, why we fight these religious wars. You know, in Jerusalem is the foundation of all three major religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. From that one place. And oddly enough, the book of Revelations, the Great Revealing, which is, people are calling it the Great Awakening right now. But what people don't realize is that Armageddon, the end times, is Armageddon. Now, Armageddon is not a war, it's a place, Megiddo. And that's in that...
First time I've heard that.
Yeah, Megiddo. It's a location in Jerusalem. That's where they say the last battle between good and evil is going to be.
I usually order mojitos when I go out to a Mexican restaurant.
Well, I will say this. Growing up, and we're older than you, Chris Michaels, but it was a happy time.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And we were very happy, and we had a lot of good times. But we can't forget the fact that we had this feeling of dread of nuclear war.
Right.
I want to just say this. We don't have that today for some reason. We have like internal things. We're going to combust from within, in the streets with our heads being gashed open. That's one. And two, this is not a political podcast, but strange how really Donald Trump has been the least warlike president we've had
Correct.
Crazy.
in this century.
Correct.
Well, the last century. Isn't it correct?
Yes.
So let's quote, that is true.
Interestingly enough, so no one knows what my political views are, right? I'm a musician, so people can assume what they want. And I'm not a political person, but what I've seen personally is that on the Democratic side or the liberal side, which is such a shame.
So wait, before you go on, when there's a distinct difference between Democratic and Democrat.
Right.
So Democratic is like a system, a political system. Democrat is the party. And they
Correct.
did that on purpose to fool you people, to make you assume that the Democrats are democratic.
That's
Well, I'm seeing
unbelievable.
but I'm seeing
What revelations in this podcast?
It's crazy. It's the Great Awakening. But I'm seeing
That's a good name for a podcast. Jot that down, The Great Awakening.
Yes, it is.
and this is my personal view on it, but I'm sure a lot of people would agree, that most of the ill will and hatred is coming more from the left, as far as like, I wish these people dead. I want to see them hurt and suffer and in pain.
Without a doubt.
And from the other side, I believe in my guns. The people that are pro Trump are a lot more forgiving, or a lot more.
The urban pro
Trump, but it's interpreted differently.
Yeah.
No. I would say it's broadcast differently.
Okay.
Not interpreted differently. It's broadcast differently.
No, but if I say that I have a right to have my guns,
yeah,
that's interpreted as that you're
pro-Trump.
Not only pro-Trump, you're a white racist. And that was exemplified with the couple that came out on a lawn that, quote unquote.
Did you hear about the pistol that she had?
No, you can tell me about that. But they came out on their lawn and it was just look at it like white racists.
Yeah,
right. So
and protecting their property as they have the right to do,
correct.
and as
they
didn't
shoot, so
no.
I never got
By the
that
way,
anyway.
You understand what people don't understand about the Second Amendment and all these freedoms that we talk about, and people are just begging to have their rights taken away. It wasn't to protect you from one another. It was to protect you from a tyrannical government. Because once the government wants to take your guns, or once a group of people want to take your guns, it's never for a good reason.
Gone. It's gone.
There's no good reason why they want to disarm you unless they want to harm you.
Right.
And they don't want you to be able to protect yourself.
Right. What's funny about the woman that at that St. Louis standoff, she's a lawyer, and the pistol that she used was a prop.
Wow.
It wasn't even a real pistol.
No, I didn't know that.
And so the prosecutors, the ones that are accusing them and trying to take them to court, they tried to they broke it down. They tried to reassemble it as a real pistol, and they couldn't do it because they wanted to throw the book at her, because the attorney general over there is sympathetic to the Democrats. She's a certain, whatever. And so the pistol is a prop that she used, and the Democrats tried to rearrange it to make it look like a real pistol and try to actually put a clip in it and make it functional and reassemble it.
That's crazy.
So I actually am seeing it as the whole system is corrupt. And by the way, we can never go back because it's so corrupted. And I was saying to you before, as far as the corruption and Cambridge Analytics. I want to go there. I was talking about AI and all that. So, and MK Ultra. I mean, it all ties in. This is stuff that's going on right now. They have figured out a way to manipulate you and have you think certain things.
Right.
So I see the whole thing as being corrupt on both sides.
Sure.
And that's really how I see it. And Trump may be the, you have the good cop, bad cop thing right now, and they're dividing us. So we're not seeing the big picture here. And the big picture is, like what I'm saying, is either we're at a point right now that we can either use AI to free humanity and have us live our best life, or we can use it, or people can use it to enslave us. And what I mean by that, that's the system that we're in right now.
Correct.
It's the mining system. And I always use this analogy. The mining towns used to hire the miners, you were the grunts, and they would pay you in mining money.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to go to the saloon, the store, and all that stuff, and they would pay you in mining money. You could never make enough money to get out of that system. Doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
That
sounds like
we're right there.
We're right there.
It sounds like the Sumerian system of monetary and finance.
It is, and I think we're still living in that slave.
We still are
in that slave
mentality.
way, in that slave mentality,
right?
And I think there's a lot of evil people out there. And,
there are,
and I'll say that Bill Gates, anybody that wants to profit from disease and/or its cure, are evil.
Correct.
So in other words, here's my point, and I ask this to a lot of people, and I want any listener out there to really think about this. If you ask somebody, do you believe that there's a cure for cancer?
Yes.
90% of the people that I ask will say, absolutely, but we'll never hear about it because it's too much money to be made. And you're okay with that. When they say that, they say it with such defeat. Like, that's just the way
Correct.
it is. Do you understand what a sad, inhumane system that we are a part of, that we allow that to happen. That's why I'm saying we're never going to go back. So that's our point right now. The point of singularity is, do we keep suffering? Do we keep allowing human beings to suffer so others can prosper? Or do we take the point and make life better for all of humanity so that we can all enjoy the benefits of what it is to be human?
This is why the illusion of, and I don't want to piss anybody off, but the illusion and or the belief, and I'll be very respectful, of Jesus. I mean, now we'll just go another 5 hours on that.
Sure.
But we're uncovering why there's got to be a greater good.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's where this really summarizes.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So,
amazing, right?
And we talk about a lot of. I mean,
I was cool, man. I'd love to. This is a great topic.
I think about. I can think about 3 different things that you've brought up, and directions to go. So the first one is going way back, and I probably shouldn't do this as a professional broadcaster, to the Montauk Project. So, you ever hear of Dolores Cannon?
No.
Dolores Cannon is dead, but Dolores Cannon is an amazing, amazing, amazing hypnotherapist and author. So she has a whole bunch of books. The best book series that she ever came out with was called The Convoluted Universe. And she helped people coming from the Korean War and the Vietnam War get over their PTSD. And so she put them under hypnotherapy. And the way she did it, and I've gone through 2 of her sessions, I've gone through sessions with people that were trained in her methods twice. She started to channel different beings.
Wow.
She started to channel past lives, and she started to channel all of this stuff. So she would all of a sudden run across people being incarnated as rocks and trees,
wow,
and dogs and cats and women and men and artists and murderers and whatever else. And the whole idea is that your awareness is a shard of a greater source energy.
Right.
So the source one day said, you know what? We are kind of bored. So we need to figure out exactly what goes on out there. So the source, according to all of this hypnotherapy, just splintered itself. And so we have an innumerable, infinite amount of shards of awareness, and that comes in the form of plants, animals, dogs, cats, humans, aliens, whatever you want to call it, demons, jinn, whatever. And so what's really interesting, if you read all of her books, is that you find out that there are multiverses within this reality. So every time that you have a tough decision to make, let's say that you're going to break up with somebody or stay with. I can't hear you when you nod. So, so every time you have a tough decision to make, I'm going to stay with somebody. I'm going to break up with somebody. I'm going to go across the country. I'm going to stay here. Your awareness, and because you're created in the image of God or the Creator, splits off into an alternate reality. So one part of you moves to the West Coast and one part of you stays on the East Coast. And when your awareness ends, when you die, quote unquote, then you're allowed to review all of that.
Wow.
Now, the next part that's interesting in all of this is that when you splinter off into these different awarenesses, those awarenesses also have decisions to make, which could create more splinters. So you have an infinite amount of splinters of awareness going in infinite directions, reliving and living every possibility that someone could actually live through. And then when you think about it, we're all alone in that, and you are all creating your own splinters.
Right.
So you really have to understand the concept of the infinite,
right,
to comprehend what's
really
actually
deep.
going on.
Fractals.
Fractals, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You guys.
You can get
Awesome stuff.
stoned on mushrooms and watch that for hours. So anyway, Dolores Cannon is fascinating. I went through one of her hypnoregressions. I did 3.5 hours in Arizona.
Love it.
Nonstop talking. I was speaking about stuff that I have the recording if you want it, Kevin. You can listen to it. But one of the things that I do remember, and you don't remember it. You do and you don't. The best way I can explain it is you've got an awareness. When you're conscious, you're aware of your body. and you don't really have a separation from your body and your consciousness. But when you go through hypnoregression therapy, you separate that. So your awareness is removed from your body, and your memory and your brain literally just listens to your body and whatever your body spews out.
Yeah.
So you're almost an audience member throughout all of this.
Yeah.
And you're just listening to whatever your body decides to let go of. Apparently, according to this one hypnoregression, if it's true or not, or if I'm channeling into an awareness that viewed this event, because those are the two possibilities. Either I was there, or I have such an awareness and a connection to this event that I'm allowed to channel myself into this other person's awareness. I have a connection to the Montauk Project. So the Montauk Project was decommissioned in 1983 in late July or early August.
Right.
I was supposed to be born on August 5th, but I was born on August 30th. I was 3 weeks late,
Wow.
11 and a half pounds, and most of it in my head. And apparently, according to my dad, my balls. Apparently, I had huge balls when I was born, and people talked about this. So, with this Montauk Project regression, I remember being on Mars, and I remember with a couple of other people, I was speaking to this dark being. And when I say dark being, it's not this person was black. It's this person was absent of light. So have you ever seen pictures of the galaxy that the Hubble telescope takes,
Mm-hmm, yeah.
right?
I'm nodding.
Yeah, I know you are. So he looked like that. If you can picture a human form,
Wow.
but with that darkness and that kind and what you would see in a Hubble telescope picture is, the specks of light in the galaxies, whatever else. It was that kind of energy that was flickering around this body. So it's almost like a cutout of reality. You're looking at this person. And the silhouette of this person looked like Darth Maul
Right.
from Star Wars. Remember Darth Maul? He had the
Oh, yeah.
horns on his head and
I was
everything
gonna say
else,
that.
and the slits for eyes. He looked like that kind of being. And when I saw this person, I had to have the regression person, whatever her name is, therapist, whatever. I had to have her ground me. So when you go through, meditation and stuff like that, you have to ground yourself. And generally what you do is you picture roots coming out of your feet, so that goes into the ground, and all the negative energy goes into the ground. It's reformulated, and the ground puts it back into your body as light and positivity. And that's how you get rid of negativity, and you bring in positivity. So I had to have her ground me on my ankle. So she had to touch my ankle because my heart rate went through the roof. I was sweating.
Wow.
I was shivering just looking at this being through a regression. He wasn't even there. I was just remembering this event. And this event involved Americans and humans getting technology from this being that they shouldn't have.
Wow.
And in exchange, this being wanted human, quote-unquote, souls to manipulate.
Boy.
So, I mean, this is all in regression, whether it's true or not or whatever. It's all perspective
Well,
when you
it
do.
sounds exactly like what we're talking about right
Yes.
now.
Right. So this being wanted that stuff, and apparently, according to this regression, I was responsible, or one of the people that were responsible for destroying what was in Montauk, where we sabotaged a lot of the projects out there, and we just, essentially made this thing go defunct. And I apparently escaped somehow through one of these they had these weird portals where people would open up different portals and go through there. Apparently I escaped through that,
Right.
and incarnated 3 weeks later in my mom and kicked out the soul that was supposed to be there on August 5th, and like all this weird stuff through this regression.
Wow.
And it's just a miraculous story. And I guess that's why I'm always here on Long Island. But
Now
whatever.
you have been known to tell me that mushrooms have an after effect.
This was before mushrooms.
It was before mushrooms.
Before mushrooms.
mushrooms.
This is before I even took mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it would have an after effect if you did take that. I understand. We're gonna cut here, and I'm gonna tell you guys. I'll cut this out. My dog is dying.
God.
I need to leave.
Okay.
So
Let's get out of here.
So you guys end it. I feel like I don't feel good. So end it and just. It was great, and this will publish, but you just ended. So you take it away, and I'll I'll just say this is great. I don't know. I'm just not feeling good.
Yeah, I got you.
3, 2.
Okay, that's it. This is the after show from the space. This is the American Pie. I'm your host, Chris Michaels. I was here with Paul and
Can I
Kevin.
get a promise from you?
What do you want?
The after show is a fun thing.
It should be more. It should be happening more often.
Yeah, because you're so intense and good at what you do for your show, and then we can relax here and just
why I want people.
open it, and we have people, and we can get people here to engage. And as Paul said, it's so important to re-engage. I mean, how great is that? I mean, we've been in a 5-month non-engagement period, so I think we've hit upon something tonight.
Yeah,
I really do.
Well, listen, we needed to have this conversation because
Isn't that so strange how that just happened?
It's deep.
I know.
It's
deep.
way deep.
It's so deep.
It's
it was so deep
metaphysics.
that I'm going to have to read about half the things you guys talked about.
Oh man,
There's a lot.
Thank you, guys.
I wanted to, if I can, just end with a meme that I put together.
Absolutely.
Because I'm accused of being the conspiracy theorist. If you'd like to put the conspiracy theorist's mind at rest, please make a resolution that states in no uncertain terms that no person, business, corporation, or any entity can ever prosper from any disease, natural, man-made, or otherwise, and or its cure ever. Doesn't that make sense? And I wrote
puts
it
the
sincerely,
I
common
and the dot,
sense.
and the dot on the I and the cross on the T. It's perfect.
Yeah, sincerely, common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have a corrupt system,
Keep doing what we're doing. From the top to the bottom. God bless you guys.
God bless.
This was awesome.
you
Thank you,
so
Chris
much.
Michael, for having
Smell
us.
the
See you later.
sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the misty